Hello. Well, I'm just going to say a few more things about the Sarah Everard case because there seems to be, as has happened in other cases, a vast amount of confusion about the causes and of the crime itself and the circumstances of the crime and the implications of the crime and the people that are the victims of the crime. And it seems to me that this business is being hijacked by people with a political agenda, just like the George Floyd instance was hijacked, and possibly even with the same ideas behind them, and using ordinary people who feel strongly about the issue as their battering ram. So first of all, I want to say that it's, of course, very sad that Miss Everard was murdered. More than very sad. I have a child of that age. I don't suppose I could even imagine how her parents feel. So that's the first thing. It's a dreadful thing. The fact that an off-duty policeman did it is neither here nor there. And this push that I can see developing to blame the police for this is nothing short of vile. Now there's another instance. There's a vigil. There's a vigil going on in memory of Miss Everard at about the same place where she was last seen. And a lot of women congregated there, and the police moved in like a bunch of mafia thugs. That was not good optics. They were enforcing COVID rules, and that was supposed to be their job. So it's difficult to know quite how they would have handled that, really. But certainly I have a photo. There's a good photo that somebody took, and it might be the only one or it might be one of many, showing a young woman being pinned down to the ground by a couple of police officers. And that's just bad optics. But to link that with the murder itself is ridiculous. And for some reason, it seems to have bubbled up all sorts of nonsense. For instance, the Chief Minister for Wales suggested that all men should be in a curfew by 6 o'clock, which is... I mean, it's impossible to imagine how stupid you'd have to be to come out with a solution to the problem of murder like that. Apart from anything else, what about ambulance workers who are men, or policemen who are doing policemen's jobs, or even plumbers coming out at night because, your boiler exploded? I mean, it's total nonsense, and anyone, even with a grain of sense, would know that. And yet the Chief Minister came out with that, and also the Green Party. But yes, I expect the Green Party to come out with nutcasery like that, because you'd have to be a nutcase to the Green Party. It comes with the territory. So that's only too predictable. The Chief Minister of Wales, though, you'd think the Welsh would be more sensible. But then, of course, you'd think the Scots would be more sensible, and they haven't shown any particular talent in that respect either with their new hate crime law. But I'll get onto that in another video. All right, so we have a couple of situations here. The first is that a lot of women have gathered in a vigil because one woman got murdered, and good. I mean, good that we are taking notice of this. Two, the fact that you're getting all sorts of... I've read a lot in The Guardian recently, and front page of the online edition over the past 3 days or so. It's been one journalist after another writing about how unsafe she feels in this world, how dreadful it is to walk on her own at night. There are millions of women in this country walking between home and bus stops and getting on the tube and everything late at night and in safety. They make it home every day. There are murders. It is very, very unusual in this country that a woman is abducted on her way home from work. Millions of women work, and when I was working for the BBC, I was sometimes coming home when I had late editing session. I mean, on one situation, I was coming home at 4 a.m. It's just ridiculous. I have walked through some of the worst areas, apparently supposed to be the worst areas of Tottenham, and not felt threatened in any way. It's just ridiculous to go over the top like this. There are dangers in living. There are dangers in crossing roads. So don't get ridiculous. Yes, you do feel unsafe. Do you know what? I'm sure there are many young men who also feel unsafe, because young men get attacked in the street as well. When you're on your own in a deserted street and you see people congregating, and I've been bumped into by a bunch of girls who jostled me about. Yeah, it's statistically more likely that if I do come to grief in a deserted street, it's more likely to be a man mugging me or something. But it's not only men. It's total nonsense, this stuff about women feeling unsafe. Yes, of course, women feel unsafe, and they feel unsafe in the unregulated presence of men, because men are bigger and stronger, and you'd be an idiot not to sort of weigh up the possibilities for damage. And I did, and I took some self-defense stuff as well. So, in an attempt to even the odds even slightly. So there's all of this going on, and these fragile Guardian writers talking about how life is one constant peril. I don't know what it is about Guardian socialists and Democrats in America, where they're a constant state of terror. To coin a phrase, man up, you idiots. All right. Now, there's that. And then I have to bring in another aspect of all of this. A bunch of women and some men gather in a place to hold a vigil for a young woman who was murdered, whose good life was tragically cut short by somebody who obviously has mental problems. I mean, if you see what's happened to this man after he got arrested, you can see there's something not right in his head. It appears to me he's turned up in court on 2 occasions with head injuries. When he was alone in his cell, and I believe that. I believe that the police didn't beat him up because they wouldn't want this sort of public injury to be seen. I suspect that man tried to kill himself by running his head into the wall of his cell. That's what I think must have happened. There is definitely something wrong with him. And these women came together in a vigil to commemorate the life and to protest her death of this young woman. And there's one wrong, and it doesn't matter whether he was a bricklayer or a policeman. He's just somebody with obvious mental problems. So far as I can tell right now. And then they got together and they said, take back the night, or, we should be free to walk on the streets and all that sort of thing. I want to just remind everybody that there's a chap further north than Clapham Common, who I will call Tony Randall, who organised groups of people who were protesting the rape and sometimes murder and certainly life destruction of their daughters, and who has been called Oh, I'm going to beep that word out, because then maybe I can get this going through on YouTube. But isn't it funny how this situation has it's got the full strength of the Guardian behind it here, and the BBC, and yet in the north, where you have thousands, tens of thousands of lives destroyed by men who have something wrong with their heads as well, although not in quite the same obvious way, they get swept under the carpet. They get called racists. I'm sorry, look, any relatives or friends of Miss Everard, I understand your pain. As I said, I have children. One of them is about the same age. And I am truly sorry. And I'm sorry that a lot of people are using this as a battering ram for all the police as well, because that's not right. And what I'm even sorry about is the parents of those girls in the north of England who have not had the same backup for their tragedies as have shown up here for this one.